Welcome to the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast.
Every week, they talk about the Vancouver Canucks with a fair amount of nonsense thrown in.
Sure, they're never the first with the news, nor the best connected, and definitely more off the rails than on.
But they've been talking puck the longest, and that counts for something, right?
So strap in for the longest running, best mediocre Canucks hockey podcast.
It's C4 with Chris and Anna.
Hi, Anna. Hi, Craig.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Craig. Look at this. I've got all the company now this week. Yes, I'm very glad to see your face. Your somewhat recovered face.
Yep. You did such a stellar job on your own last week. I kind of thought that maybe I just should, stay on the LTIR.
Just for some cap relief?
Just for cap relief, because you know how our podcast is pushing the ceiling when it comes to cap space.
Yeah, I think the real time savings aren't actually that much. So we do take concussion very seriously on this podcast. So we're being careful.
We do, and you had sort of shared with the listeners that I was suffering from a concussion. I've not been hiding sort of what transpired. Just over a week ago, working from home during a work shift, I had happened to go upstairs, to go use the restroom, and when I was on my way back down, when I got into the bottom of our stairs, one foot slipped, and when I tried to get the other one down, it slipped too. So if you sort of think of the motion, it's like going down a slide, your feet first. But the problem was that there wasn't anything for me to sort of cushion the fall on, but the floor, which then had all of that falling momentum, caused me to swing, back of my head, crack the corner of the wall.
Yeah.
If I hit the wall flush, it wouldn't have been good. But I hit the corner, and you can see the aluminum framing is bent from where my skull and the force of it.
Wow.
Yeah. To be honest, when I've talked to people and I've told the story, they're like, "Well, you're lucky." I'm like, "Yeah, I am." When it had happened, it was the worst pain that I can ever think I've ever experienced around my head. Not that I try to go out and test that on a regular basis.
Thank God.
I didn't lose consciousness. It was like sort of that bright light, loud noise. Like there was a short circuit, so to speak. It took me a moment to process.
Yeah.
And the pain, was quite clear. My immediate thought was, "Oh my goodness, have you cracked your skull?" And when I pulled my hand back after a moment or two, there was a little bit of blood on it. So I immediately thought maybe I had. That was just the scrape. But
yeah, but it's scary.
It was. All things being considered, the fact that I suffered a concussion, some pulled muscles in my back, and a bruised tailbone, I got off lucky. And it could have been significantly worse. I was home alone. There was, yeah. Anyhow, I'm fortunate, but it is still a, progressive sort of recovery. I've broken bones. I've ruptured ligaments. I've done all sorts of things where they can tell you, "Oh, the healing time frame is 4 to 6 weeks," or, "Don't do anything to your knee now that the ACL's been repaired for 6 months," or, where they, actually I think it was 3 months, but they can give you a definitive timeline. Whereas with a concussion, there's no cookie cutter approach. Everyone is different. From the moment it occurred to sort of, let's say, 4 or 5 days later, every day I felt a little bit better. There was progressive improvement. And then sort of just under a week after, it's like I had hit a wall, I plateaued. I still have sensitivity to light, sensitivity to sound. Certain movements cause my head to feel the way I described it to my family doctor. I'm my head sort of has the sensation of what I think Jell-O would probably feel like in a bowl when it's sort of shaking.
Yeah. I think I know. I mean, being someone that suffers from pretty bad motion sickness, it doesn't take much for me to destabilize. But yeah, I have been lucky, touch wood, never had concussion. I don't think. I have
Mhm.
had a pretty bad head injury, but I was so young that I don't really remember. So
Yeah, I mean, this is the second time I've experienced a concussion that I know of. The first time was
mm,
in high school. Um, and like back then, it was considered getting your bell rung. Like my GP did say, you've suffered a concussion. These are things you need to do
yeah,
to protect yourself. And like, it's not as if the science didn't exist. It's just the appreciation of the severity maybe wasn't where it was today.
right. Yeah.
And like, what did I do? I maybe took a couple of days off from being physically active, but I was a young teenager who I was in all sorts of sports. It would have been softball season if memory serves me correct, because I'd done it in PE, and we were outside, so it would have had to have been spring.
hmm
So I'm not playing soccer at that point in time, but I bet you I was still out the street playing like street hockey and whatever.
Mm,
So I mean, now I'm not doing any of that. I'm just too old,
good.
slow, broken, and beat up. So,
Mm. We're
but
glad to
yeah,
have you back. Yeah.
I'm happy to be back. On that note, for our listeners who might be curious, our episode will be as long as I can handle. We've got a solid rundown. Anna put together some awesome work. Plus, she understood that I can't brain very well right now, and
Mm.
made sure that the notes were prolific with all the details that are necessary. But if at any point in time I start talking about the BC Lions as if that's what this podcast
Yeah.
is about,
Yeah.
understand concussion.
Yeah. So we'll go as long as we can, and we'll see how we go.
Yeah. Um, Speaking of going as long as they could, the Vancouver Canucks at the trade deadline apparently didn't realize that when you have free agents, generally speaking, you try to get something before you lose them for nothing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's the best approach. Yeah.
mm,
I mean, they will say they worked away till the end, till the deadline, and
oh, I'm
they have
certain they
said,
did. And Patrick Allvin was very transparent by coming out and explaining how much value his players aren't worth.
I
Like
know.
that was cool. We'll talk a little bit about that. Again, I don't know if we're ever gonna have ourselves a trade deadline where we can say, you know what, it was a good day for the Vancouver Canucks. Um, but it's hard to say it was or it wasn't when we can sort of look not that far afield and see what other teams are doing at the deadline, and then wonder,
Yeah.
why is our player worth less when our player is performing better? So again, we'll get
Yeah,
into that.
we'll get into it.
Yeah. But it's unfortunate the Golden Knights weren't in action this week, because it would have been nice to see a team that had something to play for.
Yeah, indeed. But today is International Women's Day as we record, so them having a week off, I'm okay with it.
Hmm. Well, I mean, I'm not knocking the week off. It's just, again,
Yeah.
nice to see a team who can still play for something, actually play for something. Anyway.
Yeah. Indeed.
Okay, well, no sense beating around the bush. Let's dive into Rewind. I'm not going to recap the entire week of Vancouver Canucks hockey because there's a whole lot of suck. Now, fairness, they won a game, yay, and they got a loser point, yay, but there was a whole lot of suck. And
Yeah.
that game
You
they
lose a point.
won, the score was 6-3 against the Blackhawks. That was not a 6-3 game. That was the
No, but
Vancouver Canucks holding on for dear life.
yeah. But I kind of enjoyed that. When you have two bad teams, it can be exciting hockey, as long as you don't think too hard about what that
Yeah.
means.
Well, I thinking
So,
hard right now is not a thing for me.
yeah.
But the Vancouver Canucks did see some action leading up to the trade deadline. So the first sort of action they saw had to do with the Chaos Giraffe himself, Captain Tyler Myers, although I guess he can't be our captain no more. He had been held out, and it was so weird. He was being held out for, I can't remember what the technical term is, but like organizational issues or
I think
personnel
they
issues.
say trade related
Well,
reasons. Yeah.
that's what's said, but there's an actual term that can be
Hmm.
used. But what was weird is Tyler Myers was being held out of these games, but was still taking warm up. So, like,
Yeah. And like the first game, you can kind of understand it as a little home ice. His family are there. That's a
mhm,
cute moment. But one, he was, yeah, like I think I mentioned this before that he was doing it without a helmet. And it's just
mhm.
like, okay. But yeah, it seemed mad to me that like they took him to Seattle. And when Adam Foote was asked about it, he said, well, players get injured in warm up. Yeah, Tyler Myers could be, but strange
And
approach, but yeah.
yeah, Myers was actually asked about it, and he had shared that some of the players were ribbing him about the fact that he was still here, and because the presumption was he was being traded, that there was a deal on the table that was seriously being contemplated. Because that's the other thing, Tyler Myers had the ability to say no,
Right.
so
Which he
you
has earned.
know, exactly. I'm not having any issue with that. But I mean, was it the team trying to, I don't know,
Pressure him?
yeah, like embarrass him a little bit? I don't know. I'm not trying to
I don't
suggest that's the
know.
case. It was just weird.
It was
Anyhow,
weird.
Tyler is now going to apply his trade down in Dallas for the Dallas Stars. He netted the Vancouver Canucks a 2027 second round pick and a 2029 fourth round pick. Arguably, not a bad haul, all things considered. I mean, let's be honest, Tyler Myers, his greatest attribute, he's tall,
Uh-huh.
and he was going to be the future captain of the Vancouver Canucks in my mind. All the
Yeah.
haters that hate me right now, keep on hating.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of talked about Tyler Myers, especially on his previous contract, as he's not a bad player, but he is overpaid and overplayed.
Hmm.
And he doesn't have to do that in Dallas. Like, he does not have to be a number one defenseman, that's for sure. Like, he's down
Well, he
the
wasn't a
order,
number
so
one defenseman in Vancouver either.
no. But there was a lot more pressure on him to be more than he could be.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Best of
We
luck to
never
him.
got to
Hope he
see
gets a
him as
ring.
a fourth line winger, rocking a C on his
I
jersey.
know. Oh, damn.
Oh. Um, Connor Garland. Connor Garland no longer a Vancouver Canuck. That was sort of the other, lead up to deadline deal that happened. Connor Garland went to Columbus
Mm.
for a 2026 third and a 2028 second. That value seemed to be maybe not off or odd. I mean, when we saw sort of some of the deals that transpired the day after and on deadline day,
Yeah.
hmm. But the thing to consider, and this is, I think something that people might have been overvaluing Garland with, is that if he was a rental, I genuinely wonder if his
Oh, yeah.
capacity as a rental gets a better haul in
Yeah.
return than the deal that the Canucks signed him to in the extension that kicks in as of July 1 with limited tradability. So
For
the Vancouver
sure.
Canucks had to give up a little bit. So that the 2026 third and 2028 second, which is not this draft, not next draft, it's the draft after that.
Yeah. But yeah, I
Eh,
agree with you. Like, it's disappointing in a way. Connor Garland was very valuable, like, to the fans of Vancouver, like, big fan favorite, small fan favorite, literally. But yeah, that deal is rough for anyone. Like, that's a big risk for any organization to take
yeah,
on,
very big
especially
risk.
his age. So, yeah.
And realistically, on a good team, Connor Garland is a third line player.
Mhm.
That's not taking anything away from Connor Garland. He was a second to first line player here in Vancouver because he played well enough to exist in that space. Um, so, all things being considered, not horrible. I don't necessarily like a team that's rebuilding to go and grab a 2028 second round draft pick. Like, that's so far in the future that if you were fully committing to the rebuild, that in 3 years' time, that pick's handy, cool.
Yeah.
But that is not what Patrick Alvin shared. No,
Yeah.
Patrick Alvin shared that it's really good to have all of these 2027, 2028, and 2029 picks in hand so that if the rebuild happens quick, they can use those draft picks to acquire, win now players, which, let's be honest, he's simply
Ginormous if.
telling us
Ginormous if.
what they plan on doing. But
I know.
let's not get to that sort of conversation quite yet. There were some deals to be had on Friday. So we thought everything was for sale in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe everything was for sale. It is possible that Vancouver was either asking for way too much or two, was getting offered way too little. We don't truly know. But for the Vancouver Canucks to simply have a minor league deal and in a couple of players that netted them sixth round draft picks is disappointing considering what the market seemed to be looking for.
I
I mean,
mean,
heck, Corey Perry got better value.
and Corey Perry is 100 years old. Yeah. I mean, the David Camp one, it was almost surprising how, like, the Canucks squeeze some value out of that. Like, he's been
Wait,
here, like, a couple months and been kind of done, a quarter of nothing. So
he got them a
how do
free
they...
sixth round pick.
Yeah. And, like, that's close to nothing, but it's not nothing. And, like,
No,
Evander Kane, you couldn't get anything for
a
playoff
sixth round pick.
performer. Yeah, like,
Heck, future
he's...
considerations.
Honestly, he's doing more damage to be on the roster. You're paying him money. You are he's taking away opportunity, plus the fact that he's doing damage to Pedersen's already struggling career by being on his wing. So yeah, I find that crazy, and I know they really value Teddy Bluger.
Well, so the Teddy Bluger non-deal is
Yeah.
what confuses me the most. Like,
I
again,
mean, they're gonna extend
not
him.
oh God, I know that's okay. We'll talk about that in a minute. But like again, when I go back to Corey Perry getting good value now, like Corey Perry is veteran presence, proven track record, he's got some rings. I get all of that. That's not what Teddy Bluger is. But Teddy Bluger has, in the time that he has been on the ice this season, played really, really well. Arguably, Connor Garland in spurts and Teddy Bluger are the two players who have night in and night out played really, really well. Philip Roenick too. I should give Roenick his due. So the fact that the Canucks can't get anything for Bluger, I think, goes to the point that you would share there. They're going to try to re-sign him, which in doing so doesn't seem to align with the whole context or concept of a rebuild. But I want to talk about the Lucas Reichel return. The Vancouver Canucks gave up a 4th round pick to get Lucas Reichel. They decided that was not working out. They had sent him down to Abbey. Reichel got buried. And then to get that experiment off their books, Boston was kind enough to offer them a 6th round pick. So the Vancouver Canucks essentially traded a 4th for a 6th for a player they got like zero use out of.
I agree with you, but I will say that, like, the lesson is that, like, I think Lucas Reichel did have a lot of potential, and there was a lot of signs that a change of environment would be good for him. Didn't work. The fact that they were able to move on so quickly, I applaud that, considering Canucks history.
Okay, so avoiding sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Basically,
it's just it was an experiment that went wrong.
Yeah, and I agree, but
that part, I'm not the most I'm upset about are Kane and Bluger still being Vancouver
yeah, exactly.
Canucks. Like, you and I are aligned
That's the
there.
real issue. Yeah.
So after all was said and done, Patrick Allvin came out. He said that the Vancouver Canucks didn't get many phone calls. There was no real offers for any of the players on the team. I'm going to put words in the guy's mouth here, but he essentially said the players that the Vancouver Canucks are crap because no one wants them.
Yeah. I think in Patrick Allvin's mind, he's just like, well, I can't say the truth, which is that we got some offers for Bluger that people might seem credible, but we don't think so because this is how we value him. People will be mad about that, so we better just say no credible offers.
Well, but this is the thing. Like, there's so many different ways that he could have positioned. Like you said, no credible offers. Like, we we had a price in mind and no team was willing to match that. Or, you know, like it's just so many different ways. I think the challenge for me as I view sort of the lead up to the deadline, the two substantial deals that occurred, Tyler Myers, Connor Garland, both required agent intervention to make happen.
Yeah, and that is kind of depressing that that's where we are.
Like Jim Rutherford is supposed to be the mastermind. Patrick Alvin is supposed to be the guy Jim mentored. We have questioned who makes the decisions in the House of Vancouver. And again, that's discounting the fact that the family exists at top and contributes their 27 cents every chance they get.
Yeah.
But if it's so bad that the player agents are the ones who have to get in to make the magic happen, save yourself the trouble. Hire an agent. It worked once before.
I will say, yeah, because this is not the first time we've heard about this management group turning to agents for help. I know that happened with Brock Besser as well. Yeah. It doesn't build confidence whatsoever that this management group is capable of steering this ship through choppy waters of a rebuild.
And, the other thing that Patrick was asked was like, hey, you've, built up quite a bit of, draft capital here. And this is something you and I have applauded. Like, we like how they have built up a significant war chest going into this upcoming draft. Next season, got a bunch of picks. Where it really takes off is in 2028 for, whatever reason. But Patrick Alvin volunteered that, the benefit of having these 27 and 28 draft picks is not to actually use them, but if we do a quick turnaround and the rebuild is done, we can use that to make ourselves better, which then had a follow-up. What do you mean the rebuild would be done? Well, fans should be happy that we're not starting a rebuild from scratch because we've been rebuilding for 2 years. Okay, first of all, I don't know what it is about the front office here in Vancouver. You can say what you want about Canucks fans. I mean, enough people do. But Canucks fans know BS when we see it. And that's BS. And we are, Canucks Twitter has a reputation. Us Canucks fans, we infight like there's no other. But if there's one thing we all agree on, is that the rebuild did not start 2 years ago. The rebuild started this year. Like, if you rebuild started 2 years ago, you don't extend a Garland, you don't re-sign Brock.
Yeah.
Quinn's dished before Quinn craters. And not that he cratered, but let's be honest, it's not a good sign when your star player wants out and the entire league knows it and sees it. Like, the rebuild did not start 2 years ago. So to suggest that it will come to an end early because we're already well into it, BS. All this is simply them trying to create the mirage that a rebuild could very well be complete so that they can go and chase the potential of 2 home playoff games. It is what the family has articulated to subsequent front offices for year in, year out. And I genuinely worry when we go and we look at all the draft picks they have, that means absolutely diddly squish, because the real sign that they're rebuilding is if they, 1, keep them, and 2, continue to use free agency to get more capital for the future, not more capital for today.
Yeah, I mean, I think you are absolutely delulu if you think that this rebuild is going to be quick.
What, you
in
don't
any
think
way,
they've been
shape, or
rebuilding for
form.
2 seasons already?
I don't think that's the case. Like, I mean, yes, they have been falling with style to some extent, but that's really not intentional. Any sort of tanking is not intentional. They've tried to stave off this rebuild until they couldn't anymore. So yeah, we've got a ways to go. This really is the beginning of it.
Someone was trying to suggest to me, because again, I am pessimistic. I've been a Canucks fan for a long time. We're, pushing a quarter century here. Yeah, probably actually, more than that. We're talking I'm almost 50 here, so
Hmm.
30 some odd years that I could, conceivably say that I've been a Canucks fan, maybe 40 some odd if I really stretch the memory. But the person to suggest that I'm just being negative in saying that they haven't been rebuilding for 2 years, the players are the tell. Connor Garland, didn't come out and say it, but made it clear that when he re-signed in Vancouver, it was a team that had Quinn Hughes and had a future. Brock Besser re-signed in Vancouver because it was a team that had Quinn Hughes and a future. Maybe
Yeah.
the price in Vancouver was also better than what else was out there in the market. That, again, I'll concede I don't truly know. But the biggest tell is when you have DeBrusk saying that he didn't sign up for a rebuild at this
Yeah.
stage in his career. And when is it that he joined Vancouver? Apparently, according to Patrick Alvin, when the rebuild began.
Yeah. And him trying to walk that back, I think, yeah, but then, like he said, we said, right? And
Mhm.
it's also, I get that he is frustrated, but he hasn't really delivered on a player
No.
he's supposed to be either. So it's like,
Well, no, and I mean, but he's not
look in the
delivered
mirror.
upon it, but he wasn't signed to be a player as part of a rebuild.
No, for sure
Like
he
this
wasn't.
wasn't the guy you bring into Vancouver to stay somewhat competitive and teach the young kids how to be a pro. No, he was brought in to help reinvigorate the
Yeah.
players around him, to give Petey a player to, like relight that fire or whatever it is that's missing in his game. Now, again, it's the tell is what the players are telling us. They're the ones who are closest. They're in the room. It is very clear the rebuild didn't start 2 years ago. And to the point you had just shared moments ago, it's just Patrick Alvin in the front office trying to, explain away the fact that they've been absolute crap
Yeah.
for 2 seasons,
Yeah.
and potentially longer. How would you grade the Vancouver Canucks deadline, all things being considered? Because I mean, again, there were two okay deals, but obviously two very clear misses.
Yeah. C plus?
Okay, that's fair. That's actually what I was going to suggest.
Yeah. Because I do think Garland is a huge chip to move. And that is like really indicative of the direction you're going in. But it is such a like waste, especially that like Evander Kane thing.
Yeah.
And I think a misreading of Teddy Bluger as a player. Not to say that like he's not a good player, he obviously is. But yeah, whether he needs to be the heart and soul of the Canucks rebuild, I'm skeptical about.
To me, it's a C plus. I actually, when I look at the deadline, I actually go further back. I look at what they were able to get for Sherwood. Um, you know, eh, Good value there. Tyler Myers, like for where he is in his career, good value. Connor Garland was all the extension. Like if the Vancouver Canucks had not extended Garland,
Yeah,
because again they've been rebuilding for 2 years, so why would you extend Garland? I genuinely wonder if that wouldn't have increased his value, because Columbus wasn't trading for Connor because he's under contract. They were
yeah,
trading for Connor believing that they might actually get the player he's been here in Vancouver, and then even better than that on a team that arguably is in a better place. But again, is what it is.
yeah,
I think there's some out there who've said, "Oh, this is a failure because they needed to sell everything." But I don't disagree. Everything should have been for sale. It could have been a lot worse.
yeah,
Like it truly
yeah.
could have been. As far as what the season looks like I think in retrospect, like I was actually going to go back and see if I could pull audio from one of our earlier episodes of the season when we were still somewhat optimistic. But knowing what we know now, like when we were recording back then, we had no clue that Quinn Hughes had wanted out. Like we
Yeah.
were talking all last season, everything is Operation Save Quinn Hughes.
Yeah.
Well, little did we know there was no operation to be had because there was no saving Quinn Hughes. So I kind of feel that had we known that, that influences sort of where we are at this point in the season. But I guess, if we were to evaluate based on what we did know at the time to what we know now, where do you feel the Canucks season has been? Like, is it where we should have expected them to be all along? Is it a failure because we're
I guess
racing for a first overall pick?
Which, and like, don't get me wrong, like, stay in 32nd, love that. But I also feel like considering what they haven't completely, sold everything, the fact that they are 10 points adrift at the bottom of the standings is disappointing in a way. Because it's just like, how are you this bad when you still have, Brock Besser, you still have Pedersen, like these supposed, big players, and they are this bad. Is that a bit worrying? Yeah, but at the same time, like, yeah, I do think it's the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like my perspective is that this season is a failure based on the expectations we were led to believe going into the season
Sure.
as being, possible. I know, looking at like we were very clear that Adam Foote was not an upgrade over Rick Tocchet. I think that was very clear from the get-go. We were very clear. There were questions on the blue line. There was questions in the crease. We had a lot of what ifs up front.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think we were hiding from the possibility that the Vancouver Canucks could be crap. But we didn't go into the season expecting that to actually be the case. That's where they are. So to me, that's where the failure lay. Now, I understand there are people out there who hate the context that surrounds a tank. They don't want to see the Vancouver Canucks suck for 5-10 years because, there's no guarantee that rebuilds work. Look at the Sabres, look at the Oilers. Like, yeah, you're right. There's a ton of examples. But every time someone tries to suggest to me they don't want the Vancouver Canucks to be bad for 5 years, I'm like, well, surely enjoyed the past 10? Well, those, that bubble playoff series and that run under, Tocchet where they were, a goal away from beating the Oilers. You know what? You're right. Those two flash in the pan opportunities outweigh the 8 years of suck. And that to me is you can't devalue how bad they've been because they were able to find lightning in a bottle twice. I can't tell you what went right in that, Tocchet season that can't be replicated, but I can point to the fact that Petey had his game that he no longer possesses. Quinn Hughes was anchoring a blue line and no one had expected him to be as strong as he was. Demko played out of his gourd until he got hurt. Like the Vancouver Canucks had functionally built themselves such a significant lead that, once you get into the postseason, anything could potentially happen, and that's sort of what occurred. But you can't go and look at this roster and say, oh, this is what they're going to be, or say just a few pieces and they're going to be phenomenal. That's not realistic.
Yeah, and I do think, like, this is kind of against what we usually say, but there is something to the magic of the playoffs. Like, that goalie thing that happened during those playoffs, where, like, we had...
It got Artur Silovs an NHL gig.
Yeah, like, that was special, don't get me wrong. And do I cruelly want to say unsustainable? Yeah, kind of. Like, I don't think... And this is
Demko was a verb in the other playoff run.
Yeah, like
right?
there is something to that, but that is not what you build a franchise around.
No.
Like a month of, not even a month, a few weeks.
Yeah. You know, in retrospect, the front office, because there's been two of them over that duration, have
Mhm.
made a ton of mistakes. And one can say, well, we call them mistakes simply because we're looking at them in retrospect. But we as a fan base have pointed out the mistakes in real time too. Like, going back to the OEL deal, the fan base is like W2Fing. Yeah, sure. It got us Connor Garland. Great. Connor Garland, got value for a very exciting player. And you and I are fans of Connor Garland on the ice. And,
Yeah.
that's cool. But where would they have been had these contracts been coming off the books, that they had not gone and given up so much to, get OEL,
I
and
mean,
then in turn buy him out and see him
just
flourish elsewhere?
to go right back, and this is such an isolated deal. This isn't franchise shifting. I'm just so clearly remember my mindset of when Canucks brought in Ryan Miller, and I was
Mm.
like, why though? Canucks are not in a position to challenge. Why don't we have two young goalies in Lack and Markstrom and just bet on them? Because in a couple of
Because
years they're going to be really good. And
those
just like,
two home games in the playoffs
I know,
are the goal.
because and Ryan Miller, great guy, great goalie, but that didn't move the needle. And there's so many moments of that, right?
Yeah.
Like, and JT, obviously, maybe not a great guy, but a great player. But
The
what
last
were they
time this
doing
team,
betting on him either time, either in the
yeah, the
trade or
last
the
time this
extension?
team rebuilt, Brian Burke was the GM. And even then, I don't know if it was a full rebuild. Brian just came in and blew things up and then set the pieces up for, the crazy trade at the draft to get the Sedins. We saw Nonis bring in Luongo. And, in fairness to Nonis, never really got a true opportunity to see that through. And Gillis came in, was able to fleece San Jose with Ehrhoff. And, we saw all the subsequent gems. But since that period of time, there's never been a rebuild. A team that doesn't look to rebuild or restock its prospect system effectively and continues to try to force the window to remain open, as the Vancouver
Mm.
Canucks have, where like they're destined to fail. And I genuinely worry that this whole rebuild that started 2 years ago is just an excuse to try to go and run it back again next
No.
season, because I don't know if I have it in me to continue to to
Like,
to to
I mean,
fan.
yeah, I know. It's one of those things where, like, look at San Jose, and we will say, like, they were doing things the right way. They shouldn't be as good as they are now, but Macklin Celebrini is genuinely that good. But they were
Future
slowly
Vancouver
getting,
Canuck Macklin Celebrini.
yes. Um, but they were having fun when they were terrible. You can't say Canucks are doing that. The vibes are bad.
Yeah.
They genuinely are. Obviously, the dressing room, the locker room really looked like they were having fun post Chicago game, but we'll see. Um, yeah. What was I?
I don't
There
imagine they
was
were
a
having
point there
fun this
somewhere.
weekend after the Jets.
Uh,
Are you trying to
yeah.
suggest the Vancouver Canucks are in a position that San Jose is in now, and we'll have a quick rebuild and suddenly be magically good because we have a player
No,
of Macklin Celebrini's caliber lighting it up on the ice?
but that's my warning
It's a
would
lot of
be,
pressure on Marco Rossi or
yeah,
Zeke Bouillon or
yeah. My warning would be that Gavin McKenna or Stalberg might be a franchise-altering player, but not in the same way that Macklin Celebrini is. He's franchise,
Mhm.
like those two players would be historically good and advanced as far as Canucks draft picks go, since
Yeah.
Sedins, and even then they took their time to fit into the NHL, right? But it really doesn't change anything. One
Yeah.
high pick does not a completed rebuild make. Hmm.
Anyhow, looking ahead at the week that will be, the Vancouver Canucks have 3 games. They're actually on an extended home swing. They take on the Ottawa Senators here at home Monday, that being tomorrow or today, depending on your perspective. It's a 6 p.m. puck drop, and I imagine that has everything to do with the fact that it's on Amazon Prime. I
Yeah.
can't imagine a 6 p.m. start's good for Sens fans. So you can't say it's the Eastern thing, nor do us here in Vancouver enjoy the earlier than 7 starts, but that's what it is. The Preds are in town for a game on Thursday, and then the Kraken are in town for a game on Saturday. Are there any points to be had over those 3 games, Anna?
Hmm. Um, like maybe when the Predators are in our community. I just wanted to say that, honestly. Yeah, it's possible that, but like maybe a lose point versus Nashville. But yeah, I
Okay, I
sure
was going to suggest that possibly out of the Kraken.
sure.
Like, I
I
not to suggest
mean,
that they're going to win, but if there was points to be had, I feel like Seattle is,
I know they're
you
competing for
know,
a playoff spot, but I do not buy them. Sorry. That's rich coming from me as a Canucks fan, but I do not buy the
yeah,
Seattle Kraken. Sorry.
yeah. Uh, the Golden Eyes, they'll be back in action this week.
Hmm.
They've got a game on Tuesday against the Boston Fleet, and then a game Saturday afternoon against the Ottawa Charge. Um,
2 points
okay,
from
I'm
Ottawa.
asking.
Oh, 3 points rather.
You think,
I say
yeah,
they beat
it's
Ottawa. There's no way.
okay.
Sorry, like I love
They're not going to beat the
Golden
Fleet.
Eyes. They're just not like Boston Fleet and Boston Fleet like league leaders, and I know every point counts at this stage, but it's not gonna happen.
All right,
So, but I believe in them.
I was going to say they were going to get 6 points, just because
Oh,
whatever it
just
is
because it's Women's
on
Day, and you're like, I believe in
it's
women.
it's because of the concussion, and I believe in women. Exactly it. Uh,
But yes, 100% throw Chris and Campbell out against the Fleet, who is a very good goalie, but yeah, we don't need Mashmeyer out there.
we don't need Mashmeyer. Did you just say we don't need Mashmeyer?
No, we don't need it. We don't. She doesn't need to be
You
thrown to
said it
the
again. We don't need,
Fleet.
man. I can't believe you're treating
Well,
Mash as you are right
my new
now.
best friend, Mashmeyer. No, actually, that's not true. So I did go to
Your new best
a
friend is Carvinen.
it is. She
Yeah.
is Diddy. She is my height. She's maybe like a centimeter taller than me. I literally
So
was like,
I didn't know that
"What a
term. Thank you
player."
for clarifying.
Diddy. Sorry. Small. She is small. She is Connor
Mhm.
Garland. Small.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I saw the picture.
Yeah. But she was lovely. That was a fun event. I will say, here's my gripe. And it's Women's
Hmm.
Day, so hear me out. It was Canucks Women in Sports game that same night. Almost all the Golden Eyes were at the Canucks game, including Olympian Sarah Nurse, who maybe is the biggest draw for a Golden Eyes Olympians event.
Hmm.
I will say poor planning,
Yeah.
and I'm usually one to blame the NHL team for
No, this
this,
isn't the
but
Golden Eyes.
I have a feeling this is Golden Eyes. It seems very chaotic over there, but
Yeah.
the intentions are good,
Hmm.
really good. But yeah, that
Yeah.
seems poor planning from my
You know,
perspective.
reading some of the commentary on the Vancouver Golden Eyes subreddit and some of the creators that show up in my feeds.
Yeah.
Um, this one's probably on the Golden Eyes. There was, as you said, it was chaotic. There was a lot of confusion. As a season ticket holder, you had to go and fill in a form. The form wasn't working, or the form
Yeah.
was to be live and wasn't. Like there was a lot of these issues. Now it's an inaugural season. There's going to be speed bumps, but I think some of this also has to do with the fact that there is some form of organizational structure that exists for the Golden Eye specifically, but then there is that exists in the context of the single owner league who operates so many different things. And I think maybe there's a whole lot of that going on. And again, not knocking the Golden Eyes here, but um, February was Black History Month. And
Yeah.
the Golden Knights were the one team not to have a game to recognize
Given the franchise
Black Hispanic.
player is mixed race, like,
Yes.
I mean, a player of
And
color, like,
and
that's
for
crazy
teams
to me.
who did not have a game in February, that didn't stop them. Like again, I don't think it's intentional. I would say it's
No,
completely
the
unintentional.
intentions are good, and they do have good community outreach, but yeah, the
Yeah.
structure isn't quite there yet.
Yeah. So again, hopefully they figure these things out going into their second season. I think we're probably going to call this episode an episode. I'm getting to the point where the brain fog is setting in.
Yeah.
Super thick. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners this week?
Just because we're talking about the women's side of the game, just want to remind men's team what allyship looks like, and it's 100% not asking your players who their favorite female athlete is, especially when 90% of them can only name Serena Williams. Yeah.
Christine Sinclair, by the way, absolute goat, best
Yeah.
footballer of all time.
Oh my god, it would take me too long. I need like a paper to write about who my favorite female athlete is. Yeah, I can't do it right now.
I mean, I'll
No.
be very honest. If you had asked me or I was prepared on it, would have been Christine Sinclair. But that has a lot more to do with soccer is my sport. It's what I
Yeah.
grew up with. She was the Canadian superstar. Even me as a young player, I think Christine and I are like the same age, so we're close to it.
Really?
So,
That's fun.
kind of weird.
And she's a
But
local hero.
but
And
she
she's
was
the best.
she it probably is still so good. But that was for me. That was, if you were to ask me, hey, who's your favorite soccer player when I was growing up, I would have told you Christine Sinclair.
Mm.
And, and that's
I don't know
not
who mine
knocking
is. I just change. I would say
other local heroes like Dominique Babilio or whatever. Christine was it.
Yeah, and that makes sense, honestly. As a lower mainland kid. Like, this week, I would say my favorite female athlete is Jen Gardner, but, that's probably going to
Local
change
kid?
next week. It might be Frida Marnham next week. She is one of my favorite Arsenal players. Yeah. Viv Miedema, but I don't like saying that now because she plays for Man City. But yeah, there's a few. I would find it hard to narrow down, but yeah. There's just a lot more effective ways than naming women.
Final words of wisdom from me. If you have kids in any form of sport, especially young kids, focus on loving to come to the pitch, come to the field, come to the court. It should be done for the love of the game, because if you love to do something and you establish that where they don't want to miss an opportunity to be on the court, the pitch, the field, the pool, whatever it happens to be, that is where champions and long-term players are established. I shared this, so it was my daughter's last soccer game of the season. I shared that with the parents, sort of as a thank you message to the parents for everything that they do. And I'm a firm believer: build the love of the game. If you can build the love of the game, everything else will fall into place. You can't force someone to do
100%.
something they don't want to. You got to find ways. And, it could be just a matter of, coming out and just having fun with your mates. Or, as I had said, if the kids are just so excited to be showing up on game day because there's post-match snacks, to be honest, for an 8-year-old, that might be everything and anything. Guess what? They're going to want to continue to do game in and game out. They're going to show up, and the snacks might be the thing that just gets them to that point where suddenly they're like, I really like this. I really want to do this. The technical side, it's going to come over time. So again, that's my words of wisdom. Focus for the love of the game. And that's what it should always be about.
I love that.
If you're at this point of the episode and you're wanting to see what else we've done over the, was it 13 years of the show? I don't know. I could do the math, but it's long. You can go to c4podcast.com, listen to a good portion of our back catalog. You can also, if you'd like to support us financially, throw a few bucks our way. by going to c4podcast.com / I think it's support, or if you go to buymeacoffee.com / c4podcast, buy me a coffee, otherwise known as
Buy me a pint.
You can throw a few bucks our way as a one-off. It'll buy pints. If you'd like to support us financially on a recurring basis, monthly or annually, that money is used to pay the bills, the hosting platforms, the recording platforms, the website, all that stuff. That all carries a cost, and it comes out of Anna and my pockets equally. So anything that you throw our way helps us sort of alleviate some of that strain. Someone told me I should, beg and plead and say, for every dollar you send us is $1 less I have to steal from my child. But that's just wrong. I would never steal from my child. Anna might, but I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't steal from your child. A child, yes.
Okay, but not mine. Got it.
Not yours.
If you want to find us on all the social media platforms, we are at the C4 Podcast on X, c4podcast.com on Blue Sky, and the Real C4 Podcast on Threads. Anna's A463 pretty much everywhere, and I'm Lightforce pretty much everywhere. But on behalf of Craig, who never says squat on the show, Anna and myself, we out.